blackout. And y'all know what them blacks about. Yeah. Okay, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. Forget an LLC. The world was black owned. Black kings, black crowns on a black throne. Black kings, black queens making black clones. Black peace back east, bringing back those. Poverty, slavery, and they snatch souls. Prison system, feminism, and the crack soul. Still couldn't kill us, then we came back bold. The Most High put some fire on these black coals. I ain't here to jeopardize it, just to add a fire. This a Malcolm X mixed with some Hezekiah. This a Muhammad Ali with some Nehemiah. This some stop being the lowest, time to get higher. Even at our best, we still ain't maxed out. I wish I had a wood, I bring the axe out. And all we ever do is bring the facts out. Once the blacks come in, it's a blackout. Wow. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The raising up Israel. Let's go. The raising up the Israelites. Let's go. The raising up Israel. Let's go. The raising up the Israelites. Let's go.
All right, shalom, shalom, Israel. I hope that we found y'all this week and shalom, or as close to possible as you can get to shalom. As you can see, I got my twin brother, Yanakota Ben Douglas, in the building. And we're going to get into
what's going on?
scriptures. What's going on? What's going on? It's been a unique week for us, Israel. As y'all see, we have a video that we did earlier that's kind of out of our character on this channel. As y'all see, it's unique in its own right. With that being said, we're gonna push forward through the strife of this week. We're gonna praise Yahuwah. All praises be to him, because we got through it. And we're moving forward. How you feeling, Yanakoka?
Oh man, I'm feeling blessed. You know, the Most High is doing things. You know, the Most High is blessing. So the only thing I can say is, you know, whenever you go through stuff in life, just testing that thirst. You know what I'm saying? I never hold ill will or none of that stuff toward nobody, because I don't want nothing like that to hinder my blessing. So it just is what it is. But moving on, we are going to pick up in Jasher chapter 42 and continue about this scripture, because we're about to go into what happened after they threw Joseph in the pit. And so without any further ado,
get excited.
You got anything you want? Was that?
I said, oh yeah, no, I can't wait. I'm really getting excited, because we're getting into a lot of meat and potatoes of what's missing out of the book of Genesis. And I'm looking forward to it being brought to light and everybody getting on one accord as we go through these scriptures and we dive further into this chapter 42. So I'm loving this book of Jasher. Without further ado, go ahead and take it away.
All right. So we're in the book of Jasher, chapter 42 and verse 1. It reads this and likewise. And they went and they sat on the opposite side, at a distance of a bow shot. And they sat there to eat bread. Whilst they were eating, they held counsel together. This is Joseph's brothers. They held counsel together. as to what was to be done with him, Joseph, whether to slay him or to bring him back to his father. While they was holding counsel, they lifted up their eyes and saw, and behold, there was a company of Ishmaelites coming at a distance by the road of Gilead, going down to Egypt. And Yehuda said to them, what gain will it be for us if we slay our brother? Peradventure, Yahuwah will require him from us. This then is the counsel proposed concerning him, which you shall do unto him. Behold, this company of Ishmaelites going down to Egypt. Now therefore come, let us dispose of him to them, and let not our hand be upon him. And they will lead him along with him, and he will be lost amongst the people of the land. And we will not put him to death with our own hands. And the proposal pleased his brethren, and they did according to the word of Yehuda. Whilst they were discoursing the matter, before the company of Ishmaelites had come up to them, 7 trading men of Midian passed by them. As they passed, they were thirsty, and they lifted up their eyes and saw the pit which Joseph was immersed. And they looked, and behold, every species of bird was upon him. And the Midianites ran to the pit to drink water, for they thought that it contained water. And on coming before the pit, they heard the voice of Joseph crying and weeping. And they looked down into the pit, and they saw, and behold, there was a youth of comely appearance and well favored. And they called unto him and said, who art thou, and who brought thee hither? And who placed thee in this pit in the wilderness? And they all assisted to raise up Joseph, and they drew him out, and they brought him up from the pit, and they took him and went away on their journey and passed by his brethren. And these said unto them, why do you do this, to take our servant from us to go away? Surely we placed this youth in the pit because of his because he rebelled against us, and you come and bring him up and lead him away. Now then, give us back our servant. They keep calling him a servant. And the Midianites answered and said unto him, unto the sons of Jacob, is this your servant, or does this man attend you? Peradventure, you are all his servants, for he is more comely and well favored than any of you. And why do you speak falsely unto us? Now therefore, we will not listen to your words, nor attend to you, for we have found the youth in the pit of the wilderness, and we took him, and we will therefore go on. And the sons of Yaakov approached them and rose up to them, and they said to them, give us back our servant. Why will you die at the edge of a sword? And the Midianites cried out against them, and they drew their swords and approached to fight with the sons of Yaakov. And behold, Simeon rose up from his seat against them and sprang upon the ground and drew his sword and approached Midian and approached the Midianites. And he gave a terrible shout before them, so that his shouting was heard at a distance. And the earth shook at Simeon's shouting. And the Midianites were terrified on account of Simeon and the noise of his shouting. And they fell on their faces and were exceedingly alarmed. And Simeon said unto them, verily, I am Simeon, son of Yaakov the Hebrew, who have only with my brother destroyed the city of Shechem and the cities of the Amorites. So shall Yahuwah moreover do unto me, that if all your brethren, the people of Midian, and also the kings of Canaan, were to come with you, they could not fight against me. Now therefore, give us back the youth, whom you've taken, lest I give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth. And the Midianites were more afraid of Simeon, and they approached the sons of Yaakov with terror and fright and with pathetic words, saying, surely you have said, this young man is your servant, and that he rebelled against you. Therefore, you placed him in the pit. What then will you do with the servant who rebels against his master? Now, therefore, sell him unto us, and we will give you all that you require for him. And Yahuwah was pleased to do this in order that the sons of Yaakov should not slay their brother. I'm going to say that again. And Yahuwah was pleased to do this in order that the sons of Yaakov should not slay their brother. And the Midianites saw that Joseph was of comely appearance and well favored, and they desired him in their hearts and were urgent to purchase him with his from his brethren. And the sons of Yaakov hearkened to the Midianites, and they sold their brother Joseph to them for 20 pieces of silver. And Reuben, their brother, was not with them. And the Midianites took Joseph and continued their journey to Gilead. And they were going along the road, and the Midianites repented of what they had done, having purchased the young man. And one of them said, and one said to the other, what is this thing we have done in taking this youth from the Hebrews, who is of comely appearance and well favored? They like, wait a minute, something's not right. We know we just bought him from the Hebrews. This ain't right. So they say in verse 21, perhaps this youth is stolen from the land of the Hebrews. And why then have we done this thing? If we should be sought for and found in our hand, if he should be sought for and found in our hands, we shall die through him. Now surely hardy and powerful men have sold him to us in the strength of one whom you saw this day. Perhaps they stole him from the land with their might and with their powerful arm, and have therefore sold him to us for the small value which we gave unto them. Whilst they were discouraging, discoursing together, they looked, and behold, a company of the Ishmaelites, which was coming at first, which the sons of Yaakov saw, was advancing toward the Midianites. And the Midianites said to each other, come, let us sell the youth to the company of the Ishmaelites who are coming toward us, and we will take for him the little that we gave for him, and we will be delivered from his evil. And they did so, and they reached the Ishmaelites, and the Midianites sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites. Now, mind you, the Midianites are Joseph's cousins. So are the Ishmaelites. Now, he was sold by his brothers to their cousins, and his cousins, the Midianites, sold him to his other cousins, the Ishmaelites, for 20 pieces of silver, which they had given for him unto his brother. And the Midianites went on their road to Gilead, and the Ishmaelites took Joseph, and they let him ride upon the camels, and they were leading him to Egypt. And Joseph heard that the Ishmaelites were proceeding to Egypt. And Joseph lamented and wept at this thing, that he was to be so far removed from the land of Canaan, from his father. And he wept bitterly whilst he was riding upon a camel. And one of the men observed him and made him go down from the camel and walk on foot. Notwithstanding this, Joseph continued to cry and weep. And he said, oh, my father, my father. And one of the Ishmaelites rose up and smote Joseph upon the cheek, and he still continued to weep. And Joseph was fatigued in the road and was unable to proceed on the account of the bitterness of his soul. And they all smote him and afflicted him in the road. and they terrified him in order that he might cease from weeping. And Yahuwah saw the ambition of Joseph in his trouble, and Yahuwah brought down upon those men darkness and confusion, and the hand of everyone that smote him became withered. And and they said to each other, what is this thing that Yahuwah has done unto us in the side of the road? And they knew not that this befell them on account of Joseph. And the men proceeded in the road, and they passed along the road of Ephrath, where Rachel was buried. And Joseph reached his mother's grave. And Joseph hastened and ran to his mother's grave, and he fell upon the grave and he wept. And Joseph cried aloud upon his mother's grave, and he said, "O my mother, thou who didst give me birth, awake now, arise, and see thy son, how he has been sold for a slave, and no one to pity him. O arise and see thy son, weep with me on the account of my troubles, and see the heart of my brethren. Arouse, my mother, arouse, awake from thy sleep for me, and direct thy battles against my brother. Oh, how have they stripped me of my coat and sold me already twice for a slave, and separated me from my father, and there is no one to pity me. Arouse and lay thy cause against them before Yahuwah, and see whom Yahuwah will justify in judgment, and whom he will condemn. Rise, O my mother, rise, awake from thy sleep, and see my father, how his soul is with me this day, and comfort him and ease his heart." And Joseph continued to speak these words, and he cried aloud and wept bitterly upon his mother's grave. And he ceased speaking. From bitterness of heart, he became still as a stone upon the grave. And Joseph heard a voice speaking to him from beneath the ground, which answered him with bitterness of heart, with a voice of weeping and praying in these words, my son Joseph, I have heard the voice of thy weeping and the voice of thy lamentation. I have seen thy tears. I know thy trouble, my son. It grieves me for thy sake, and abundant grief is added to my grief. Now, therefore, my son Joseph, my son, hope in Yahuwah, and wait for him, and do not fear, for Yahuwah is with thee. He will deliver thee from all trouble. Rise, my son, go down unto Egypt with thy masters, and do not fear, for Yahuwah is with thee, my son. And she continued to speak like unto these words unto Joseph, and she was still. And Joseph heard this, and he wondered greatly at this, and he continued to weep. And after this, one of the Ishmaelites observed him crying and weeping upon the grave, and his anger was greatly kindled against him. And he drove him from there, and he smote him and cursed him. And Joseph said unto the men, may I find grace in your sight to take me back to my father's house, and he will give you abundance of riches. And they answered him, saying, art thou not a slave? Where is thy father? And if thou hast a father, thou wouldst not already twice have been sold for a slave for so little value. And their anger was still aroused against him, and they continued to smite him, and they chastised him. And Joseph wept bitterly. And Yahuwah saw Joseph's affliction, and Yahuwah again smote these men and chastised them, And Yahuwah caused darkness to envelop upon the earth, and the lightning flashed, and the thunders roared, and the earth shook at the voice of the thunder of the mighty wind, and the men were all terrified and knew not where they should go. And the beast and the camels stood still. They led them, but they would not go, and they smote them, and they crouched upon the ground. And the men said to each other, "What is this that Yahuwah has done to us? What is our transgression? What is our sin at this thing that has befallen us?" And one of them answered and said to them, "Perhaps on account of the sin of afflicting this slave has this thing happened this day to us. Now, therefore, implore him strongly to forgive us. Then we shall know whose account of this evil befalleth us. If Yahuwah shall have compassion over us, then we shall know that all this cometh unto us on the account of the sin of afflicting this slave." And the men did so, and they supplicated Joseph and pressed them to forgive them. And they said, "We have sinned to the Elohim and to thee. Now therefore vouchsafe to request of thy Elohim that he shall put away this death from among us, for we have sinned to him." And Joseph did according to the words, and Yahuwah hearkened to Joseph. And Yahuwah put away the plague which he had inflicted upon those men on account of Joseph. And the beast rose up from the ground, and they conducted them and went on. And the raging storm abated, and the earth became tranquil. And the men proceeded on their journey to go down to Egypt. And the men knew that this evil had befallen them on account of Joseph. And they said to each other, "Behold, we know this account of his affliction, that this evil befell us. Now, therefore, why shall we bring this death upon our souls? Let us hold counsel what to do with this slave." And one answered and said, "Surely he told us to bring him back to his father. Now, therefore, come, let us take him back, and we will go to the place that he will tell us, and take from his family the price that we gave for him, and shall go away." And one answered and said, "Behold, this counsel is very good, but we cannot do so, for this way is very far from us, and we cannot go out of our road." In other words, they're saying, this is good counsel, but we already basically at Egypt. We don't have enough supplies to turn around and go back. So one of them answered again and said, "Behold, the counsel is very good, but we cannot do so, for the way is very far from us, and we cannot go out of our road." 52. It says, "And one more answered and said unto them, This is the counsel to be adopted. We will not swerve from it. Behold, we are this day going to Egypt, and we shall, and when we shall have come to Egypt, we shall sell him there for a high price, and we will be delivered from his evil." And this thing pleased the men, and they did so, and they continued their journey to Egypt with Joseph.
All right, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, we're gonna go ahead and push right on forward and pick up with chapter 43. All right, and when the sons of Yaakov had sold their brother Joseph to the Midianites, their hearts were smitten on account of him, and they repented of their acts, and they sought for him to bring him back, but could not find him. And Reuben returned to the pit in which Joseph had been put, in order to lift him out and restore him to his father. And Reuben stood by the pit, and he heard not a word, and he called out, Joseph, Joseph, and no one answered or uttered a word. And Reuben said, Joseph has died through fright, or some serpent has caused his death. And Reuben descended into the pit, and he searched for Joseph, and could not find him in the pit. And he came out again. And Reuben tore his garments, and he said, the child is not there. And how shall I reconcile my father about him, if he be dead? And he went to his brethren, and found them grieving on account of Joseph, and counseling together how to reconcile their father about him. And Reuben said unto his brethren, I came to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not there. And then shall we say unto our father, for my father will only seek the lad from me. And his brethren answered him, saying, thus and thus we did. And our hearts afterwards smote us on account of this act. And we now sit to seek a pretext, how we shall reconcile our father to it. And Reuben said unto them, what is this you have done to bring down the gray hairs of our father in sorrow to Shaul? The thing is not good that you have done. Verse 7. And Reuben sat with them, and they all rose up and swore to each other not to tell this thing unto Yaakov. And they all said, the man who will tell this to our father or his household, or who will report this to any of the children of the land, we will all rise up against him and slay him with the sword. And the sons of Yaakov feared each other in this matter, from the youngest to the oldest, and no one spoke a word, and they concealed the thing in their hearts. And they afterward sat down to determine and invent something to say unto their father Yaakov concerning all these things. And Issachar said unto them, here is some advice for you, if it seems good in your eyes to do this thing. Take the coat which belongs to Joseph, and tear it, and kill a kid of the goats, and dip it in its blood, and send it to our father, and when he sees it, he will say an evil beast has devoured him. Therefore tear ye his coat, and behold, his blood will be upon his coat. And by your doing this, we shall be free of our father's murmurings. Verse 12. And Issachar's advice pleased them, and they hearkened unto him, and they did according to the word of Issachar, which he had counseled them. And they hastened and took Joseph's coat and tore it. And they killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood of the kid, and then trampled it in the dust. And they sent the coat to their father Yaakov by the hand of Naphtali. And they commanded him to say these words, we had gathered in the cattle, and had come as far as the road to Shechem and farther, when we found this coat upon the road in the wilderness, dipped in blood and in dust. Now therefore know whether it be your son's coat or not. Verse 15. And Naphtali went, and he came unto his father, and he gave him the coat, and he spoke unto him all the words which his brethren had commanded him. And Yaakov saw Joseph's coat, and he knew it, and he fell upon his face to the ground, and became as still as stone. And he afterward rose up and cried out with a loud and weeping voice, and he said, it is the coat of my son Joseph. Verse 17. And Yaakov hastened and sent one of his servants to his sons, who went to them, and found them coming along the road with the flock. And the sons of Yaakov came to their father about evening, and behold, their garments were torn, and dust was upon their heads. And they found their father crying out, and weeping with a loud voice. And Yaakov said unto his sons, tell me truly, what evil have you this day suddenly brought upon me? And they answered their father Yaakov, saying, we were coming along this day after the flock had been gathered in, and we came as far as the city of Shechem by the road in the wilderness, and we found this coat filled with blood upon the ground, and we knew it, and we sent unto you if you could know it. Verse 20. And Yaakov heard the words of his sons, and he cried out with a loud voice, and he said, it is the coat of my son. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is rent in pieces, for I sent him this day to see whether it was well with you and well with the flocks, and to bring me word again from you. And he went as I commanded him, and this has happened to him this day, while I thought my son was with you. And the sons of Yaakov answered and said, he did not come to us, neither have we seen him from the time of our going out from you until now. And when Yaakov heard their words, he again cried out aloud, and he rose up and tore his garments, and he put sackcloth upon his loins, and he wept bitterly, and he mourned, and lifted up his voice in weeping, and exclaimed and said these words, Joseph, my son, O my son Joseph, I sent you this day after the welfare of your brethren, and behold, you have been torn in pieces. Through my hand has this happened to my son. It grieves me for you, Joseph, my son. It grieves me for you. How sweet were you to me during life, and now how exceedingly bitter is your death to me. Verse 25. Oh, that I had died in your stead, Joseph, my son. For it grieves me sadly for you, my son. Oh, my son, my son. Joseph, my son, where are you? And where have you been drawn? Arouse, arouse from your place, and come and see my grief for you. Oh, my son, Joseph. Come now and number the tears gushing from my eyes down my cheeks, and bring them up before Yahuwah, that his anger may turn from me. O Joseph, my son, how did you fall by the hand of one by whom no one had fallen from the beginning of the world unto this day? For you have been put to death by the smiting of an enemy, inflicted with cruelty. But surely I know that this has happened to you on account of the multitude of my sins. Arouse now and see how bitter is my trouble for you, my son. Although I did not rear you, nor fashion you, nor give you breath and soul, but it was Elohim who formed you and built your bones and covered them with flesh, and breathed in your nostrils the breath of life. And then he gave you unto me. Now truly Elohim, who gave you unto me, he has taken you from me. And such then has befallen you this day. And all the works of Elohim are good. And Yaakov continued to speak like unto these words concerning Joseph. And he wept bitterly. He fell to the ground and became still. Shakespeare my ass. Don't nobody know the hurt like that. Oh my goodness. Verse 31. And all the sons of Yaakov, seeing their father's trouble, they repented of what they had done, and they also wept bitterly. And Yahuwah rose up and lifted his father's head from the ground, and placed it upon his lap, and he wiped his father's tears from, let me say that again, verse 32. And Yehuda rose up and lifted his father's head from the ground, and placed it upon his lap, and he wiped his father's tears from his cheeks. And Yehuda wept an exceedingly great weeping, while his father's head was reclining upon his lap, still as a stone. And the sons of Yaakov saw their father's trouble, and they lifted up their voices and continued to weep. And Yaakov was yet lying upon the ground, still as a stone. And all the sons and his servants and his servants' children rose up and stood round him to comfort him, and he refused to be comforted. And the whole household of Yaakov rose up and mourned a great mourning on account of Joseph and their father's trouble. And their intelligence reached Yitzchak, and the son of Abraham, the father of Yaakov, and he wept bitterly on account of Joseph, he and all his household. And he went from the place where he dwelt in Hebron, and his men with him. And he comforted Yaakov his son, and he refused to be comforted. Verse 36. And after this, Yaakov rose up from the ground, and his tears were running down his cheeks. And he said unto his sons, Rise up, and take your swords and your bows, and go forth into the field, and seek whether you can find my son's bloody body, and bring it unto me, that I may bury it. Seek also, I pray you, among the beasts, and hunt them, and that which shall come the first before you, seize and bring it unto me. Perhaps Yahuwah will this day pity my affliction, and prepare before you that which did tear my son in pieces, and bring it unto me, and I will avenge the cause of my son. That's that special kind of calm festivity. Verse 38. And his sons did as their father had commanded them, and they rose up early in the morning, and each took his sword and his bow in his hand, and they went forth into the field to hunt the beast. And Yaakov was still crying aloud and weeping, and walking to and fro in the house, and smiting his hands together, saying, Joseph, my son, Joseph, my son. And the sons of Yaakov went into the wilderness to seize the beast. And behold, a wolf came toward them, and they seized him, and brought him unto their father. And they said unto him, This is the first we have found, and we have brought him unto you, and you, as you did command us. And your son's body we could not find. And Yaakov took the beast from the hands of his sons, and he cried out with a loud and weeping voice, holding the beast in his hands. And he spoke with a bitter heart unto the beast, Why did you devour my son Joseph? And how did you have no fear of the Elohim of the earth, or of my trouble for my son Joseph? And you did devour my son for naught, because he committed no violence, and did thereby render me culpable on his account. Therefore Elohim will require him that is persecuted. Verse 43. And Yahuwah opened the mouth of the beast in order to comfort Yaakov with its words. And it answered Yaakov and spoke these words unto him, As Elohim lives, who created us in the earth, and as your soul lives, my Adonai, I did not see your son, neither did I tear him to pieces, but from a distant land I also came to seek my son, who went from me this day, and I know not whether he be living or dead. And I came this day into the field to seek my son, and your sons found me and seized me, and increased my grief, and have this day brought me before you. And I have now spoken all my words to you. And now, therefore, O son of Adam, I am in your hands, and do unto me this day as it may seem good in your sight. But by the life of Elohim, who created me, I did not see your son, nor did I tear him to pieces. Neither has the flesh of man entered my mouth all the days of my life. And when Yaakov heard the words of the beast, He was greatly astonished and sent forth the beast from his hand, and she went her way. And Yaakov was still crying aloud and weeping for Joseph day after day, and he mourned for his son many days. I can only imagine how astonished Yaakov could have been. It would have scared the hell out of me to be holding a wolf, first off, in my hands, and then to have Elohim himself open the wolf's mouth and speak words to me.
Yeah, I think I'd have been like, whoa. Okay,
Man,
so you didn't do it.
right. Like, what else can you say at that point?
Yeah. That in itself is awesome. So we're gonna continue with the very next chapter. Chapter 44 of the book of Jasher, verse 1. And the sons of Ishmael who bought Joseph from the Midianites, who had bought him from his brethren, went to Egypt with Joseph. And they came upon the borders of Egypt. And when they came near unto Egypt, they met 4 men of the sons of Medan, of the sons of Abraham, who had gone forth from the land of Egypt on their journey. And the Ishmaelites said unto them, do you desire to purchase a slave from us? And they said, deliver him over to us. And they delivered Joseph to them. And they beheld him, that he was very comely youth, and that they purchased him for 20 shekels. And the Ishmaelites continued their journey, and the Medianim also returned that day to Egypt. And the Medianim, the Medianim, I can't say that, the Midianites, they said to each other, behold, we have heard that Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, seeketh a good servant, who shall stand before him to attend him, and to make him overseer over his house and all belonging to him. Now therefore come, let us sell him to him for what we may desire, if he be able to give us that which we shall require of him. And the Midianites went, and they came to the house of Potiphar and said unto him, we have heard that you seeketh a good servant to attend thee, and behold, we have a servant that will please thee, if thou canst give unto us that which we may desire, and we shall sell him unto thee. And Potiphar said, bring him before me, and I will see him, and if he please me, I will give unto thee that which you may require for him. And the Midianites went and they brought Joseph.
Real quick, sorry, Salaki. Midanim.
Yeah, I can't say that word, man.
All right.
The Midaim, okay? Okay, so the Midaim came to Potiphar's house, and they said unto him, we have heard that you seeketh a good servant to attend thee. Behold, we have a good servant. If he please thee, if thou canst give unto thee, or give unto us that which we may desire, we shall sell him unto thee. And Potiphar said, bring him before me, and I shall see, and I will see, and if he pleases me, I will give unto you that which you require for him. And the Midaim went and brought Joseph and placed him before Potiphar, and he saw him, and he pleased him exceedingly. And Potiphar said unto them, tell me what you require for this youth. And they said, 400 pieces of silver we desire for him. 400 pieces of silver we desire for him. And Potiphar said, I will give it to you. I will give it you if you bring me the record of his sale to you, and will tell me his history, for perhaps he may be stolen. For this youth is neither a slave nor the son of a slave, but I observed in him the appearance of a goodly and handsome person. And the Midaim went and they brought unto him the Ishmaelites, who sold him unto them, and they told him, saying, he is a slave, and we sold him to them. And Potiphar heard the words of the Ishmaelites in this, giving the silver unto the Midaim, and the Midaim took the silver and went on their journey, and the Ishmaelites also returned home. And Potiphar took Joseph and brought him to his house that he might serve him. And Joseph found favor in the sight of Potiphar, and he placed confidence in him and made him overseer of his house, and all that belonged to him he delivered over into his hands. And Yahuwah was with Joseph, and he became a prosperous man. And Yahuwah blessed the house of Potiphar for the sake of Joseph. And Potiphar left all he had in the hands of Joseph. And Joseph was one that caused things to come in and go out. Everything was regulated by his wish in the house of Potiphar. Joseph was 18 years old. So if we know the story of Joseph, he was already being groomed to be in charge of stuff, being an overseer of things. This plays a very important part of how, why he saw favor, or why Pharaoh saw favor in it. So it says Joseph was 18 years old, a youth with beautiful eyes and comely appearance. Like unto him was not the whole of Egypt. At that time, whilst he was in his master's house, going in and out of the house and attending his master, Zelika, his master's wife, lifted up her eyes toward Joseph, and she looked at him, and behold, he was a youth, comely and well favored. And she coveted his beauty in her heart, and her soul was fixed upon Joseph. She enticed him day after day, and Zelika persuaded Joseph daily, but Joseph did not lift up his eyes to behold his master's wife. And Zelika said unto him, how goodly are thy appearance and form. Truly, I have looked at all the slaves, and have not seen so beautiful a slave as thou art. And Joseph said unto her, surely he who created me in my mother's womb created all mankind. And she said unto him, how beautiful are thine eyes, which thou hast dazzled all the inhabitants of Egypt, men and women. And he said unto her, how beautiful they are, else we are alive. But should thou behold them in the grave, surely thou wouldst move away from them. In other words, this all will pass away. Don't settle down there. And she said unto him, how beautiful and pleasing are all thy words. Take now, I pray thee, an harp which is in the house, and play. Take thee the harp which is in the house, and play with thy hands, and let us hear thy words. And he said unto her, how beautiful and pleasing are my words when I speak the praise of my Elohim in his glory. And she said unto him, how beautiful is the hair of thy head. Behold, the golden comb which is in the house, I pray thee. I take it, I pray thee, and curl the hair of thy head. I'm sorry. She is trying everything. And he said unto her, how long wilt thou speak these words? Cease to utter these words to me, and rise and attend thy domestic affairs. And she said unto him, there is no one in the house, in my house, and there is nothing to attend to but thy words and thy wish. Yet, notwithstanding all this, she could not bring Joseph unto her, neither did he place his eyes upon her, but directed his eyes below to the ground. And Zelica desired Joseph in her heart that he should lie with her. And at that time, Joseph was sitting in the house doing his work, and Zelica came and sat before him. And she enticed him daily with her discourse to lie with her or ever to look at her. But Joseph would not hearken to her. He wouldn't even look at her, eyes to the ground. That's how you're supposed to be. And she said unto him, if thou wilt not do according to my words, I will chastise thee with the punishment of death and put an iron of yoke upon thee. And Joseph said unto her, surely Yahuwah, who created man, looseth the feathers of the prison. And it is he who will deliver me from thy prison and from thy judgment. When she could not prevail over him to persuade him, and her soul being still fixed upon him, she desired through her into a grievous sickness. And all the women of Egypt came to visit her, and they said unto her, why art thou in this declining state? Like, what is wrong with you? Thou that lackest nothing? Surely thy husband is great and esteemed prince in the sight of the king. Shouldst thou lack anything of thy heart's desire? I mean, what is wrong with you? You know, your husband's a prince. He's highly favored. You not lacking nothing. What is wrong? What's going on? And Zelica answered them and said, this day it shall be made known to you whence this disorder springs in which you see me. She commanded her maid servants to prepare food for all the women, and she made a banquet for them, and all the women ate in the house of Zelica. And she gave them knives to peel the citrons. I think those are like oranges, to eat them. And she commanded that they should dress Joseph in costly garments, that he should appear before them. And Joseph came before their eyes, and all the women looked at Joseph and could not take their eyes from off him. And they all cut their hands with the knives in their hands, and all the citrons in their hands were filled with blood. And they knew not what they had done, but continued to look at the beauty of Joseph, and did not turn their eyelids from it. And Zelica saw that they had saw what they had done, and she had said to them, what is this work that you have done? Behold, I gave you citrons to eat, and you have all cut your hands. And all the women saw their hands, and behold, they were full of blood, and the blood flowed down upon their garments. And they said unto her, this slave in your house has overcome us. He ain't said a word. He just stood there, and they just staring at him. But he overcame us, and we could not turn our eyelids from him on this account of his beauty. And she said unto them, surely this happened to you in the moment that you looked at him, and you could not contain yourselves from him. How then can I refrain when he is constantly in my house, and I see him day after day going in and out of my house? How then can I declining or even perishing on this account? Well, she was sick.
You gotta be a special kind of woman right there to go and look and seek a defense as to why you want to jump this man bones.
They like, what's wrong with you? Why are you declining? She said, come here, look at this. Look at this. You
Right.
see this right here is why. They were sick. Oh man, this is funny.
Verse 34.
All right. And they said unto her, the words are true, for who can see this beautiful form in the house and refrain from him? And is he not thy slave and attendant in thy house? Why did you not tell him that which is in thy heart and suffer thy soul to perish through this matter? In other words, why you just ain't tell him to lay with you? Ain't he your servant? And she said unto him, I am daily endeavoring, daily, every day I'm trying to get these cheeks. Every day I am daily endeavoring to persuade him. And he will not consent to my wishes. And I promised him everything that is good. And yet I could meet with no return from him. I am therefore in a declining state, as you see. And Zilica, look, she blaming it on him. Why she lusting so hard for this dude? He can't help how he look. Verse 36.
She said, I'm so in love with this man and want this man so bad, I'm physically dying. What?
It's crazy. Verse 36. And Zilica became very ill on the account of her desire toward Joseph. And she was desperately lovesick on the account of him. And all the people of the house of Zilica and her husband knew nothing of this matter, that Zilica was ill on the account of her love for Joseph. And all the people of her house asked her, saying, why art thou ill and declining and lacking nothing? And she said unto them, I know not this thing which is daily increasing upon me. And all the women and her friends came daily to see her and spoke with her. And she said unto them, this can only be through the love of Joseph. They said unto her, entice him and seize him secretly. Perhaps he may hearken to thee and put off this death from thee. Oh my good. They was like, just take it from him. And Zilica became worse from her love for Joseph. And she continued to decline till she had scarce strength to stand. And on a certain day, Joseph was doing his master's work in the house, and Zilica came secretly and fell suddenly upon him. Oops. And Joseph rose up against her and was more powerful than she was. And he brought her down to the ground. And Zilica wept on the account of the desire of her heart toward him. And she supplicated with him, weeping, and her tears flowed down her cheeks. She was crying, bawling, and she spoke unto him in a voice of supplication and bitterness of soul, saying, hast thou heard, seen, or known of so beautiful a woman as I am, or better than myself, who speak daily unto you, fall into a decline through love for thee? Confer all this honor upon thee, and still thou wilt not hearken to my voice. If it be through fear of thy master, lest he punish thee, as the king liveth, no harm shall come to thee from thy master through this thing. Now, therefore, pray and listen to me, and consent for the sake of the honor that I have conferred upon thee, and put off this death from me. Why should I die for thy sake? Wow. She laid it on thick. She ceased to speak. And Joseph answered her and said, refrain from me and leave this matter to my master. Behold, my master knoweth not what there is with me in the house. Behold, my master knoweth not what there is with me in the house. For all that belongeth to me, for all that belongeth to him, he has delivered unto my hand. How shall I do these things in my master's house. Like, my master's already given me all these things that you asking. What are you talking about? 45. And he hath also greatly honored me in his house, and he hath also made me overseer of his house. He hath exalted me. There is no one greater in this house than I am, and my master hath refrained nothing from me, except thee, who art his wife. How then canst thou speak these words unto me? And how can I do this great evil and sin to Yahuwah and to thy husband? Now therefore refrain from me and speak no more such words as these, for I will not hearken to thy words. But Zillah would not hearken to Joseph when he spoke these words unto her, but she daily enticed him to listen to her. It was after this that the brook of Egypt was filled above all its sides, and all its inhabitants of Egypt went forth, and also the king and princes went forth with timbrels and dancings. For it was a great rejoicing in Egypt, a holiday at the time of the inundation of the sea, Sihor, and they went there to rejoice all the day. When the Egyptians went out to the river to rejoice, as was their custom, all the people of the house of Potiphar went with them, but Zillah did not go with them, for she said, I am indisposed. And she remained alone in the house, and no other person was with her in the house. And she rose up and ascended to her temple in the house, and dressed herself in princely garments, and placed upon her head precious stones of onyx, inlaid with silver and gold. And she beautified her face and skin with all sorts of women's purifying liquids. And she perfumed the temple and the house with cassia and frankincense. And she spread myrrh and aloe. And she afterwards sat in the entrance of the temple, the passage of the house, through which Joseph passed to do his work. Behold, Joseph came from the field and entered the house to do his master's work. And he came to the place through which he had to pass, and he saw the work of Zillah, and he turned back. And Zillah saw Joseph turning back from her, and she called out to him, saying, What aileth thee, Joseph? Come to thy work, and behold, I will make room for thee until thou shalt have passed to thy seat. In other words, she was like, I'll move out of your way until you get to where you're going. And Joseph returned and came to the house and passed from thence to the place of his seat. And he sat down to do his master's work as usual. And behold, Zillah came to him and stood before him in the princely garments. And the scent from her clothes was spread to a distance. And she hastened and caught Joseph by his garments and said unto him, As the king liveth, if thou wilt not perform my request, thou shalt die this day. And she hastened and stretched forth her other hand and drew a sword from beneath her garments and placed it upon Joseph's neck. See, there was a little bit more that was going on than she just grabbed his garments and he ran away. She put a sword to his neck, and she said, Rise and perform my request. If not, thou diest this day.
Or how you gonna try to take Johnny Hancock?
You just gonna take it. You're just gonna rape him.
Hey, we can't use that word. We can't use that word.
You're gonna rape him.
You're just gonna take it. That is horrible.
Verse 54. Joseph was afraid of her at doing this thing, and he rose up to flee from her. And she seized the front of his garments And in the terror of his flight, the garment which Zilkha seized was torn, and Joseph left the garment in the hand of Zilkha, and he fled and fled to go out, and for he was in fear. And Zilkha saw that Joseph's garment was torn, and that he had fled, and he had left it in her hand and had fled. And she was afraid of her life, lest the report should spread concerning her. And she rose up and acted with cunning, and put off the garments in which she was dressed, and she put on her other garments. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. So you had other garments on, probably showing you kibbles and bits. And then you got scared lest he snitch on you. So you went to go put on your normal garments. Interesting. And she took Joseph's garment and she laid it beside her. And she went and seated herself in the place where she had sat in her illness, before the people of her house had gone out to the river. And she called a young lad who was then in the house, and she ordered him to call the people of the house to her. And when she saw them, she said unto them with a loud voice and lamentations, see what a Hebrew your master has brought to me in the house, for he came this day to lie with me. For when you had gone out, he came to the house, and seeing that there was no person in the house, he came unto me and caught hold of me with intent to lie with me. And I seized his garments and tore them and called out against him with a loud voice. And when I had lifted up my voice, he was afraid of his life and left the garment before me and fled. And the people of the house of her house spoke nothing, but their wrath was very much kindled against Joseph. And they went to his master and told him the words of his wife. And Potiphar, who came home enraged, and his wife cried out, saying, what is this thing thou hast done unto me in bringing a Hebrew servant into my house? For he came unto me this day to sport with me. So she just really threw him under the bus. Came unto this house to sport with me, and thus he did. This he did do unto me this day. And Potiphar heard the words of his wife. Now, mind you, how many brothers been in this situation? How many people been in this situation? Potiphar heard the words of his wife, and he ordered Joseph to be punished with severe stripes. And they did so to him. Whilst they were smiting him, Joseph called with a loud voice, and he lifted up his eyes to heaven. And he said, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, thou knowest that I am innocent of all these things. Why shall I die this day through falsehood by the hand of these uncircumcised wicked men whom thou knowest? Whilst Potiphar's men were beating Joseph, he continued to cry and weep. And there was a child there, 11 months old, 11 months old, not even a year yet. And Yahuwah opened the mouth of the child, and he spoke these words before Potiphar's men who were smiting Joseph. Verse 65. These are the words which were spoken. What do you want of this man, and why do you do this evil unto him? My mother speaketh falsely and uttereth lies. Thus was the transaction, and the child told them accurately all that happened, all the words of Zilkha to Joseph, day after day. Did he declare them unto them. And all the men heard the words of the child, and they wondered greatly at the words of the child's word. And the child ceased to speak and became still. And Potiphar was very much ashamed at the words of his son, and he commanded his men not to beat Joseph anymore. And the men ceased beating Joseph. And Potiphar took Joseph and ordered him to be brought to justice before the priest. Now, he just heard his 11-month-old son, who should not be speaking, speak, and told the whole ordeal, snitched his mama all the way out. And he still wants Joseph to be punished. Get this. This is crazy. And the priest said unto Joseph, why didst thou do this thing to thy master? And Joseph answered them, saying, not so, my lords, thus was the matter. And Potiphar said unto Joseph, surely I entrusted in thy hands all that belonged to me, and I withheld nothing from thee but my wife. How couldst thou do this evil? Like, damn, you just heard an 11-month-old baby tell you the truth, and you still talk about I did it. Like, you got hard-headed people in these worlds. You just do. And Joseph answered, saying, not so, my lord. As Yahuwah liveth, and thy soul liveth, my lord, the word which thou didst hear from thy wife is untrue. For thus was the affair this day. A year has elapsed to me since I have been in thy house, and thou seen my iniquity. I'm sorry, I'm going to start again. A year has elapsed to me since I have been in thy house. Hast thou seen any iniquity in me, or anything which might cause thee to demand my life? And the priest said unto Potiphar, send, we pray thee, and let them bring before us Joseph's torn garment, and let us see the tear in it. And if it shall be that the tear is in the front of the garment, then his face must have been opposite to her, and she must have caught hold of him to come to her with deceit. And with deceit did thy wife do all that she had spoken. As they brought Joseph's garment before the priests, who were the judges, they saw, and behold, the tear was in front of Joseph. And all the judging priests knew that she had pressed him. And they said, the judgment of death is not due to this slave, for he has done nothing. But his judgment is that he is to be placed in the prison house on the account of the report which through him has gone forth against thy wife. So he getting punished even though he didn't do anything, because his very presence is a testimony against his wife. So in order for Zilliqa to have any type of honor again, they gonna have to do away with Joseph. And they know they can't kill him, so they like, look, we're gonna put him in jail, so that way you save face, right? So this is what their judgment is saying. And Potiphar heard the words, and he placed him in the prison house, in the place where the king's prisoners are confined. And Joseph was in the house of confinement 12 years. 12 years. And notwithstanding this, his master's wife did not turn from him. She did not cease from speaking to him day after day to hearken to her. At the end of the 3 months, Zilliqa continued going to Joseph to the house of confinement day by day. And she enticed him to hearken to her. And Zilliqa said unto Joseph, how long wilt thou remain in this house? But hearken now to my voice, and I will bring thee out of this house. And Joseph answered her, saying, it is better for me to remain in this house than to hearken to thy words. to sin against Yahuwah. And she said unto him, if thou wilt not perform my wish, I will pluck out thine eyes and feather thy feet, and will deliver thee into the hands of them whom thou didst not know before. And Joseph answered her and said, behold, the Elohim of the whole world is able to deliver me from all that thou canst do unto me. For he opened the eyes of the blind and loosened those that are bound, and preserved all strangers who are unacquainted with the land. And when Zelicah was unable to persuade Joseph hearkened to persuade Joseph to hearken unto her, she left off from going to entice him. And Joseph was still confined in the house of confinement. And Joseph and Yaakov, the father of Joseph, and all his brethren who were in the land of Canaan, still mourned and wept in those days on the account of Joseph. For Yaakov refused to be comforted for his son Joseph. And Yaakov cried aloud, and he wept and mourned all those days.
Boy, this right here is better than Days of Our Lives.
I mean, think about it. How you going to jail for not doing nothing?
For being found innocent.
Honorable. And he had the wisdom to understand, I'd rather be in prison than to do this sin which you were trying to get me to do. Potiphar's no longer his master, and he's still saying no.
Facts. All right, picking up and moving on with chapter 45. And it was at that time in that year, which is the year of Joseph's going down to Mizraim, after his brothers had sold him, that Reuben, the son of Yaakov, went to Timnah and took unto him for a woman Eli-Yoram, the daughter of Avi, the Canaanite. And he came to her, and Eli-Yoram, the woman of Reuben, conceived and bore him Kanok, Palu, Ketzron, and Carmi, 4 sons. And Simeon, his brother, took his sister Dinah for a woman, and she bore unto him Yemuel, Yamin, Ohad, Yakin, and Zochar, 5 sons. And he afterward came to Bunah, the Canaanite woman. The same is Bunah, whom Shimon took captive from the city of Shechem. And Bunah was before Dinah, and attended upon her. And Simeon came to her, and she bore unto him Shaul. And Yehuda went at that time to Adullam, and he came to a man of Adullam, and his name was Kira. And Yehuda saw there the daughter of a man from Canaan, and her name was Eliath, the daughter of Shua. And he took her and came to her, and Eliath bore unto Yehuda Onan, and Shiloh, 3 sons. And Levi and Issachar went to the land of the east, and they took unto themselves for women the daughters of Yovav, the son of Yoktan, Japheth, the son of Eber, and Yovav, the son of Yoktan, not Japheth, what am I thinking about? Shem, son of Yoktan, had 2 daughters. The name of the elder daughter was Adinah, and the name of the second was Aridah. And Levi took Adidah, Adinah, and Issachar took Aridah. And they came to the land of Canaan, to their father's house. And Adinah born to Levi Gershon, Kohath, and Merari, 3 sons. And Aridah born to Issachar, Tola, Pua, Yov, and Shimron, 4 sons. And Dan went to the land of Moab and took for a woman Aphlaalith, and the daughter of Kamudon the Moabite, and he brought her to the land of Canaan. And Aphlaalith, boy, that's a tongue twister, was barren; she had no offspring. And Elohim afterward remembered Aphlaalith, the woman of Dan, and she conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Cushim. And Gad and Naphtali went to Haran, and took from thence the daughters of Amuram, the son of Uz, the son of Nachor, for women. And these are the names of the daughters of Amuram. The name of the elder daughter, the elder, was Merimah, and the name of the younger, Uzzieth. And Naphtali took Merimah, and Gad took Uzzieth, and brought them to the land of Canaan, to their father's house. And Merimah bore unto Naphtali Yakseel, Gunim, Yester, Shelem, 4 sons. And Uzzieth bore unto Gad Ziphion, Kagi, Shunai, Etzbon, Eri, Avadi, and Eli, 7 sons. Boy, these names is some tongue twisters, Israel. Sheesh. Verse 12. And Asher went forth and took Adon, the daughter of Aphlal, the son of Hadad, the son of Ishmael, for a woman. And he brought her to the land of Canaan. And Adon, the woman of Asher, died in those days. She had no offspring. And it was after the death of Adon that Asher went to the other side of the river, and took for a woman Hadarah, the daughter of Abimael, the son of Eber, the son of Shem. And the young woman was of a comely appearance, and a woman of sense. And she had been the woman of Malchiel, the son of Elam, the son of Shem. And Hadorah bore a daughter unto Malchiel, and he called her name Sarah. And Malchiel died after this, and Hadorah went and remained in her father's house. Verse 16. And after the death of the woman of Asher, he went and took Hadorah for a woman, and brought her to the land of Canaan. And Sarah, her daughter, he also brought with them. And she was 3 years old, and the damsel was brought up in Yaakov's house. And the damsel was of comely appearance, and she went in the sanctified ways of the children of Yaakov. She lacked nothing. And Yahuwah gave her wisdom and understanding. For those of y'all that think that a woman is only good in the kitchen and in the bedroom, no, that's not how that's supposed to be. A rib is a rib through and through. You're supposed to pick up while I'm down, and all of that good stuff, which means I got to be able to meet you at some kind of equal footing. Therefore, my wife can't be no dummy. Just saying. Yahuwah gave her wisdom and understanding. And Hadorah, the woman of Asher, conceived and bore unto him Yimnah, Yishvi, and Beri Yaah, 4 sons. And Zebulun went to Midian, and took for a woman married Sha'ah, the daughter of Molad, the son of Avada, the son of Midian, and brought her to the land of Canaan. And Marushah bore unto Zebulun Sered, Elon, and Yakleel, 3 sons. And Yaakov sent to Aram, the son of Zophah, the son of Tarak, and he took for his son Benjamin, Machaliah, the daughter of Aram, and she came to the land of Canaan to the house of Yaakov. And Benjamin was 10 years old when he took Machaliah, the daughter of Aram, for a woman. And Machaliah conceived and bore unto Benjamin Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gerah, and Naaman, 5 sons. And Benjamin went afterward and took for a woman Aribath, the daughter of Shimron, the son of Abraham, in addition to his first woman. And he was 18 years old. And Aribath bore unto Benjamin Ekai, Rosh, Mapium, I don't know how to say that, boy. Cupium, and Ard, 5 sons. Verse 23. And in those days, Yehuda went to the house of Shem and took Tamar, the daughter of Elam, the son of Shem, for a woman for his firstborn, And came to his woman, Tamar, and she became his woman. And when he came to her, he outwardly destroyed his seed, and his work was evil in the sight of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah slew him. And it was after the death of Yehuda's firstborn, that Yehuda said unto Onan, go to your brother's woman and marry her as the next of kin, and raise up seed to your brother. And Onan took Tamar for a woman, and he came to her. And Onan also did like unto the work of his brother, and his work was evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and he slew him also. And when Onan died, Yehuda said unto Tamar, remain in your father's house until my son Shiloh shall have grown up. And Yehuda did no more delight in Tamar, to give her unto Shiloh, for he said, perchance he will also die like his brothers. And Tamar rose up and went and remained in her father's house. And Tamar was in her father's house for some time. Verse 29. And at the revolution of the year, Eliath, the woman of Yehuda, died, and Yehuda was comforted for his woman. And after the death of Eliath, Yehuda went up with his friend Kyra to Timnah to shear their sheep. And Tamar heard that Yehuda had gone up to Timnah to shear the sheep, and that Shiloh was grown up, and Yehuda did not delight in her. And Tamar rose up and put off the garments of her widowhood, and she put on a veil upon her, and she entirely covered herself. And she went and sat in the public thoroughfare, when it sat out in the open, which is upon the road to Timnah. And Yehuda passed and saw her, and took her and came to her, and she conceived by him. And at that time, at the time of being delivered, behold, there were twins in her womb. And she called the name of the first Peretz, and the name of the second Zerach. Man, it's starting to get good. Again, excuse me for the names. I don't know what we was thinking back then. Them names is killing me today. And we're gonna go ahead and fly right on into chapter 46. Go ahead.
But see, even in that scripture where you read about what happened with Yehuda and them and what was going on there. A lot of people say, see, a lot of the descendants of Judah are actually half Canaanite, and it's like, no, not necessarily, because his youngest son was Shiloh, and Shiloh didn't. You don't hear really too much, nothing else about Shiloh, but he had two other kids with her, and she was a Shemite. She was Elam's daughter, so, and she bore twins. If you trace the lineage where we come from Peretz and his brother. But going into
Hey, something happened to your mic, man. Your mic just cut out.
all right, can you hear me now?
Yep. There you go.
All right, Kobe. All right, so we're chapter 46 of the book of Jasher.
Final chapter. Bring it home.
In those days, Joseph was still confined in the prison house in the land of Egypt. At that time, the attendants of Pharaoh were standing before him, and the chief of the butlers and the chief of the bakers, which belonged to the king of Egypt. And the butler took the wine and placed it before the king to drink, and the baker placed bread before the king to eat. And the king drank the wine, and he ate the bread, and the servants and the ministers that ate the king at the king's table. Whilst they were eating and drinking, the butler and the baker remained there. And the Pharaoh's ministers found many flies in the wine, which the butler had brought, and stones of nitrate were found in the baker's bread. So you're drinking wine that's got flies in it, and you're eating bread that's got rocks in it. And it says, the captain of the guard placed Joseph as an attendant on Pharaoh's officers. And Pharaoh's officers were in confinement 1 year. At the end of the year, they both dreamed dreams in one night and placed in the place of confinement where they were. And in the morning, Joseph came to attend upon them as usual. And he saw them, and behold, their countenance were dejected and sad. And Joseph said to them, why is your countenance sad and dejected this day? And they said unto him, we dreamed a dream, and there's no one to interpret it. And Joseph said unto them, I relate. Joseph said unto them, relate, I pray you, your dream unto me, and Yahuwah shall give you an answer of peace as you desire. And the butler related his dream unto Joseph, and he said, I saw in my dream, and behold, a large vine was before me, and upon the vine I saw 3 branches, and the vine speedily blossomed and reached their great heights, and its clusters were ripened and became ripe. And I took the grapes and pressed them in a cup and placed it in Pharaoh's hand, and he drank it. And Joseph said unto him, the 3 branches that were upon the vine are 3 days. Yet within 3 days the king will order thee to be brought out, and he will restore thee to thy office, and thou shalt give the king his wine to drink as at first, when thou wast his butler. But let me find favor in thy sight, that thou shalt remember me to Pharaoh when it be well with thee, and do kindness unto me, and get me brought forth from this prison. For I was stolen away from the land of Canaan, and was sold for a slave in this place. And also that which was told thee concerning my master's wife is false, for they placed me in this dungeon for naught. And the butler answered Joseph, saying, if the king deal well with me as at first, as thou hast interpreted unto me, I will do all thou desires, and get thee brought out of this dungeon. And the baker, seeing Joseph accurately interpreted butler's dream, also approached and related the whole of his dream to Joseph. And he said, in my dream, I saw and behold 3 white baskets upon my head. And I looked and behold, there were an uppermost basket, all manner of baked meats for the Pharaoh. And behold, the birds were eating them off my head. Joseph said unto him, the 3 baskets which thou didst see are 3 days. Yet within 3 days, Pharaoh will take off thy head and hang thee upon a tree, and the birds will eat thy flesh from off thee, as thou sawest in a dream. In those days, the queen was about to be delivered, and upon the day she bore a son unto the king of Egypt. And they proclaimed that the king has gotten his firstborn son. And all the people of Egypt came together with the officers and the servants of Pharaoh, greatly rejoiced. And upon the 3rd day of his birth, Pharaoh made a feast for his officers and servants and for the host of the land of Zoar and of the land of Egypt. And all the people of Egypt and the servants of Pharaoh came to eat and drink with the king at the feast of his son, to rejoice at the king's rejoicing. And all the officers of the kings and his servants were rejoicing at the time for 8 days at the feast, and they made merry with all sorts of musical instruments, with timbrels, with dancing in the king's house for 8 days. And the butler, to whom Joseph interpreted his dream, forgot Joseph and did not mention him to the king as he had promised. For this thing was from Yahuwah in order to punish Joseph, because he had trusted in man. And the butler, to whom Joseph had interpreted a dream, Salakia. Verse 20, and Joseph remained after this in the prison house for 2 years, until he had completed 12 years. 1 year for each of his brothers. Well, that was a rather short chapter right there. I mean, if y'all want, I can go into verse or chapter 47, because it's also a short one. So, chapter 47. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was still living in those days in the land of Canaan. And he was very aged, 180 years old. And Esau, his son, the brother of Jacob, was in the land of Edom. And he and his sons had possessions in it amongst the children of Seir. And Esau heard that his father's time was drawing nigh to die. And he and his sons in the household came unto the land of Canaan, unto his father's house. And Yaakov and his sons went forth from the place where they dwelt in Hebron. And they all came to their father Isaac, and they found Esau and his sons in the tent. And Yaakov and his sons was before his father Isaac. And Yaakov was still mourning for his son Joseph. And Isaac said unto Yaakov, bring me hither thy sons, and I will bless them. And Yaakov brought his 11 children before Isaac, his father Isaac. And Isaac placed his hands upon all the sons of Yaakov, and he took hold of them and embraced them and kissed them one by one. And Yitzhak blessed them on that day. And he said unto them, may the Elohim of your fathers bless you and increase your seed like the stars of heaven for number. And Yitzhak also blessed the sons of Esau, saying, may Elohim cause you to be a dread and terror to all that will behold you and all your enemies. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Sounds familiar.
That's what he said on his deathbed to
It
Esau.
sounds familiar.
Okay.
Definitely.
And Isaac called Yaakov and his sons, and they all came and sat before Yitzhak. And Yitzhak said unto Yaakov, the Elohim, Yahuwah thy Elohim of the whole earth, said unto me, unto thy seed will I give this land for an inheritance. If thy children keep my statutes and my ways, I will perform unto them the oath which I swore unto thy father Abraham. So I'm going to set the scene real quick. He's once again called the sons of Yaakov and Yaakov unto him in the presence of his brother. And Pete, what he just said, he said, they all came before Isaac, and Isaac said, Yahuwah thy Elohim of the whole earth said unto me, unto thy seed I will give this land for an inheritance for thy children. If they keep my statutes and my ways, I will perform unto them the oath which I swore unto thy father Abraham. Verse 8, now therefore, my sons, teach thy children and thy children's children to fear Yahuwah, and to go in the good ways which will please Yahuwah thy Elohim. For if you keep the ways of Yahuwah and his statutes, the Yahuwah will keep unto you his covenant with Abraham, and do well with you and your seed all the days. When Yitzhak finished commanding Yaakov and his children, he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. And Yaakov and Esau fell on the face of their father Yitzhak, Isaac, and they wept. And Yitzhak was 180 years old when he died in the land of Canaan, in Hebron. And his sons carried him to the cave of Machpelah, which Abraham bought for the children from the children of Heth for a possession of a burial place. And all the kings of Canaan went with Yaakov and Esau to bury Yitzhak. And all the kings of Canaan showed Yitzhak great honor at his death. And the sons of Yaakov and the sons of Esau went barefoot round about, walking and lamenting until they reached Kiriath Arba. And Yaakov and Esau buried their father Yitzhak in the cave of Machpelah, which is in Kiriath Arba in Hebron. And they buried him with great honor as a funeral fit for kings. And Yaakov and his sons, and Esau and his sons, and all the kings of Canaan made a great and heavy mourning, and they buried him and mourned him many days. At the death of Yitzhak, he left his cattle and his possession and all belonging to his sons. And Esau said unto Yaakov, behold, I pray thee, all that our father has left, we will divide into two parts. This is Esau speaking. Behold, I pray thee, all that our father has left, we will divide into two parts. And I will have the choice. And Yaakov said, we will do so. And Yaakov took all that Isaac or Yitzhak had left in the land of Canaan, the cattle and the property, and he placed in two parts before Esau and his sons. And he said unto Esau, behold, all that is before thee, choose unto thyself the half which thou wilt take. And Yaakov said unto Esau, Hear thou, I pray thee, what I will take unto thee, or what I will speak unto thee. And Yahuwah, Elohim of heaven and earth, spoke unto our father Abraham and Isaac, saying, Unto thy seed will I give the land for an inheritance forever. Now therefore, all that our father has left before thee, behold, all the land is before thee. Choose from them which thou desirest. If thou desire the whole land, take it for thee and thy children forever, and I will take this riches. And if thou desirest the riches, and take it unto thee, I will take this land for me and my children to inherit forever. And Nebaioth, the son of Ishmael, was then in the land with his children. And Esau went that day and consulted with him, saying, Thus Jacob has spoken unto me, and thus he's answered me. Now give me advice, and I will hear. And Nebaioth said, What is this that Jacob has spoken unto thee? Behold, all the children of Canaan are dwelling surely or securely in their land. And Yaakov saith, He will inherit it with his seed all the days. Now, therefore, take all thy father's riches and leave Yaakov thy brother in the land as he has spoken. And Esau rose up. He was like, you tripping. I would take the money. So Esau was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. He said, Esau rose up, returned unto Yaakov, and did all that Nebaioth, my bad, the son of Ishmael had advised. And Esau took all the riches that Isaac had left, and the souls, the beasts, the cattle, the property, all the riches. He gave nothing to his brother Yaakov. And Yaakov took all the land of Canaan from the brook of Egypt unto the river Euphrates. He took it for an everlasting possession, for his children and for his seed after him forever. Yaakov also took from his brother Esau the cave of Machpelah, which is in Hebron, which Abraham bought from Ephraim for a possession of a burial place for him and his seed forever. Aha! You said you didn't want the land. Well, the land has the burial site of our ancestors you said you didn't want. That's going to play a real big part later on. Okay, it says, where did I leave off? It says, and Yaakov wrote all these things in the book of purchase and signed it. And he testified all this with 4 faithful witnesses. And these are the words which Yaakov wrote in the book, saying, the land of Canaan, in all the city of the Hittites, Hivites, Jebusites, Amorites, Perizzites, Girgashites, all the 7 nations from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates, in the city of Hebron, Kiriath Arba, and the cave which is in it, the whole did Jacob buy from his brother. Buy. He bought it. He bought it from his brother Esau for a value, for a possession, and for an inheritance for his seed after him forever. And Yaakov took the book of purchase and the signature and the command and the statutes and the revealed book, and he placed them in earthen vessels, wait a minute, the revealed book. I wonder which book that could be. I wonder why the book of Enoch is so old.
Go ahead.
And he placed them in an earthen vessel in order that they should remain for a long time. Yet ever heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were found in earthen vessels, that they should last a long time. And he delivered them into the hands of his children. And Esau took all that his father had left him after his death from his brother. And he took all the property from man and beast, camel and ass, ox and lamb, silver and gold, stones and bdellium, all the riches which had belonged to Yitzhak, the son of Abraham. There was nothing left which Esau did not take unto himself from all that Yitzhak had left after his death. Esau took all this. He and his children went home. They went home to the land of Seir, the Horite, away from his brother Yaakov and his children. He went home to the land of Seir, the Horite, away from his brother Yaakov and his children. And Esau had possession amongst the children of Seir. And Esau returned not to the land of Canaan from that day forward. And the whole land became an inheritance to the children of Israel for an everlasting inheritance. And Esau, with all his children, inherited Mount Seir. Mount Shaggy.
Boy, that's good reading right there. And that right there lays the groundwork to what's getting ready to come. It lays the foundation, the very foundation in which the fight in which we find ourselves currently in Israel. Not just the fact that we have gone into captivity, but the fighting, therefore, that has occurred. The fact that we are still constantly having pretty much the same fight that we've been having since back during this time frame that we're getting ready to go into in the next study. You know what I'm saying? It lays that groundwork right there, and it makes it painfully clear and painfully obvious who the two are nowadays that they're speaking about back then. It's an amazing soap opera right now. But this soap opera is getting ready to get real bloody.
Oh, yeah. It was the reason why I put an emphasis on why I say, it says that Yaakov bought this for possession from his brother Esau, because he gave Esau the choice, because he was the older brother. You get the choice. You know about the land and you know about the riches. He even gave him a choice. Remember, he already had the blessing, and then he got blessed again in the presence of Esau. So, you know what I'm saying? But Esau didn't value the land because he had his inheritance in the mountains of Seir. You know what I'm saying? So he's in Seir. He's prospering there. What do you need the land for? You know?
Never saw the benefit in it. There's no point.
Right.
The man had a mountain range to himself. Because let's be clear, Mount Seir is not just one mountain. It's a mountain range. And he had his own, very own mountain that he had dug out while he was living in Seir itself. So when it says that he had his inheritance in Seir, that's exactly what they're talking about. And by all means, you can always go and you can go to Disney Plus, pull up that good old National Geographic, they got a little discovery show for Petra, and it goes further into detail about it. Talks about how Kanaz built the mountain, all of that good stuff. Like they hiding this information right there in plain sight because they know ain't nobody paying attention.
You ain't lying. You get to looking at that stuff. You start looking at what's really over there, not the stuff they show you in the news, not the stuff you read in the magazine. You start looking at it, these biblical geographical locations. You'll come to understand that where the location is talking about. It's awesome. It lets you know some things. It also lets you know that during the Benjamite War, remember when the woman was raped or whatever, or raped or whatever, and they killed her essentially. What happened was they had a war, and all the children of Israel swore not to give their daughters unto them because they had done this great abomination. And so what happened was, after so long, they're starting to die off, and they're like, wait a minute, like we need women to procreate. And the children of Israel started to relent of the oath that they swore to each other, but they had already swore by Yahuwah to do this thing, and they knew they couldn't break it. So what they did was they told the Benjamites, during the fall harvest, during the festival, what we'll do is when the women of Shiloh come, and then you can take them, and you can take them as wives. Now, the reason why I brought that up is because we read about Shiloh and who Shiloh is, right? So Shiloh is the son of Yehuda. You feel me? Shiloh is the son of Yehuda by the way of the Canaanite woman. So those women that Benjamin took were descendants of Yehuda, son Shiloh. So they were still Israelites as well. It wasn't like they just ran off and took these strange women. No, they were still literally Israelites because they were of the seed of Yehuda.
Facts. Absolutely. All right, Israel. Well, thank y'all. We're coming up on that 2-hour mark. I want to thank y'all for hanging in there with us as we go through these scriptures. Again, line by line, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, book by book. And we're going through these hand in hand together, reading this scripture as one. There can be no confusion in any of the matter. How then can there be any confusion in the matter? So again, I appreciate all of those that are listening, that stumble across this, all of those that are following this, all of that good stuff. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Again, y'all look up John Boy. He's the artist that has done the nation's anthem that we play at the beginning of every show. I know y'all know that's a banger right there. It's an amazing work. So shout out to John Boy. When you guys get a chance, I endeavor y'all to take a look at Negro Onlys. If you can't find the main channel of the Negro Onlys on YouTube in the search bar, then by all means, come to the nation, Sword and Spirit. You can go to our podcast and click on Negro Only's podcast and get access to the channel through that way. Shout out to Negro Onlys and Uriah doing his thing, posting them videos up there and pushing that knowledge out there. Sis Hadassah doing her thing on Hidden Ones. Or I said that wrong. The Caribbean ones. Yanakota, help me out. Who else am I leaving out?
The Hidden Ones. Then you got IE Bree, he out there. He got his channel. Y'all check him out. The beginners channel. Check him out. Kadar and his channel. Check him out. Resurrecting the Truth. It's just far too many to list off. We out here, we trying to we trying to get this truth out here, family. You know, we out here trying to get this truth. You know, we don't have long. We got to get our act together.
Absolutely. And by one way or the other, many avenues as it takes to get the truth out there. Not only to reach the ones that haven't heard the news yet and need to wake up, but to reach the ones that have woken up and have been sucked in by them dumbass camps that are out there pushing false doctrine. We're here for y'all. Any way, any shape or form. You got any last words, y'all, Colton?
Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. For here's the conclusion of the entire matter. Fear Yahuwah and guard his commands, for this is the duty of all mankind.
Hallelujah. Barak Aku Yahuwah Hameth Meret Lo Alam Ba'id Asher Natan La Nu Hamakuth Ka Adama Goel Ben Mashiach. Blessed are you, Yahuwah, forever and ever, for giving us your kingdom on earth, redeemed in the Messiah. All right, with that being said, hallelujah. Yisrael, Yehuda, I hope to find y'all in Shalom as y'all go through y'all's day, starting a new week, pushing forward in the land of our captivity, struggling just to make it to our next Shabbat. Hallelujah. And with that saying, we're going to go ahead and start to bring this to a close. See y'all next week.
Yeah, it's the blackout. And y'all know what them blacks about. Yeah. Okay, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. Forget an LLC. The world was black owned. Black kings, black crowns on a black throne. Black kings, black queens making black clones. Black peace back east, bringing back those. Poverty, slavery, and they snatch souls. Prison system, feminism, and the crack soul. Still couldn't kill us, then we came back bold. The Most High put some fire on these black coals. I ain't here to jeopardize it, just to add a fire. This a Malcolm X mixed with some Hezekiah. This a Muhammad Ali with some Nehemiah. This some stop being the lowest, time to get higher. Even at our best, we still ain't maxed out. I wish I had a wood, I'd bring the axe out. And all we ever do is bring the facts out. Once the blacks come in, it's a blackout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ain't no more black people going to hell. Let's go.